Hello again. Selecting a location for Project 4 was more difficult than I thought. Martin, you'd instructed us to find a place in the world that you could easily access. Place could be any number of spaces, and I considered several scenarios. The 80s strip mall near my house, a historical section of my town, my refrigerator, my car. I eventually narrowed it down to two separate locations, and then a third idea presented itself, and I went with it. My first location was my studio's building, which has been the site of past student work. During thesis, I'd focused on the view outside the window in my studio and its relationship with the objects inside the space. And for another elective course, I'd focused on the overlooked spaces like the table and chairs in the hallway. This was the first time I was looking at typography and signage on the interior and exterior of the building. I tried to pay attention to small stickers, usually out of view because of position, like the two top images. I also noted several warning type signs that I usually ignore, like the bottom two images. There were multiple styles of exit signs throughout. Many of the indicator signage, bathrooms, no smoking, electrical panel, seems original to the building, which was constructed in the 1970s. There are some inspirational prints in the kitchen that I'd never really paid attention to. And also this plaque, which lives on a wall just outside my own studio space under this framed print. I am not sure who Frank is, and honestly, I've never really thought to ask. There are also some companies that have the businesses listed on the placards beside the door numbers, while other businesses have logos transferred directly on their door. The management company posted a lot of behavior signs throughout the building. And there's also a changeable message board at the downstairs entrance that lists the current businesses. This is a space, both my studio and the building, where I have a lot of insight into the happenings behind the scenes. My mom works for the company that both owns and manages the building, so anytime an issue arises, I'm quick to alert them and they're quick to resolve it. If I were to move forward in this direction, there are a lot of possibilities about what could be done within the space. On all three of my locations, I also visited them on Google Maps just to see how much change I could see over the years. Out of the three different locations I looked at, this location had the least visible in the digital world. My second location was the Old Town section of my town. There's a lot of existing typography, signage for businesses and parks, and city-sponsored historic designations. There are secondary advertisements, flyers for events and concerts, as well as city marking on the pavement. There is some really great older neon signage. Some of it, like the Cal Club, still accurately depicts the businesses that are below, as well as a lot of hand-painted signage that is imperfect and weathered over time. This location has a strong personal tie to me. I know more information than the average person. Many of these buildings are owned by the same people or families, and multi-generations all live within walking distance of each other and their businesses. Up until 2006, my friend and his family owned and operated this Chinese restaurant and bar, seen on the left, for over 100 years. It has since been replaced by a craft brewery seen on the right. Similarly, this corner store was Tsuda's Grocer, owned and operated by the same family for decades. They closed in 2007 and are now home to an annex for the craft brewery we just looked at. Overall, I think I'm least attracted to this idea. Because I know so much about this place, looking at this location through a neutral lens feels difficult. Maybe that's the challenge of the project, though. My third location was an accidental find. I went to FedEx office, which I will forever refer to as FedEx Kinko's, to make copies for my classes. When I used one of the copy machines, someone had left flyers for a 2023 Run for the Sun in the tray, and immediately I was intrigued. Seeing the flyer made me pause and look all around me. There was so much to offer: instructions, advertisements, forms, both digital and physical prints. I have a connection to this place, but it feels less personal. I've been coming here to make copies for at least 2 decades. This Google Maps image from 2007 displays FedEx Kinko's, whereas this image from 2012 has been changed to FedEx Office. During COVID, when I was in my thesis, this location allowed me to come in and experiment with their machines, so long as I didn't break them. They were equally as kind to me the morning I was in there and asked if I could take pictures of the type in the store. And there was no shortage of type. There were labels, instructions, solutions, and general branding. And there was also type that was either made for or as a result of a transaction. The original Run for the Sun brochure, a fax cover sheet, or my receipt for my own copies. After reviewing these images, 2 locations stand out to me. The first is the office building where my studio is. I've been in this building for almost 3 years, and I'm surprised at how much typography I've been ignoring. I organized the images somewhat when I initially presented them, and I continue to do so here. It was interesting to read each and assign it a category, but also to read the text in general. The first example under directions lists dogging instructions, which isn't a phrase I'm familiar with. If I were to choose this location, I do also feel like I could get weird without getting in trouble, which does help ease some concern. My second option is FedEx Kinko's. It really feels ripe with possibility because it's a place with many forms of existing type and also a place that produces type. I took the same approach with these images and began to imagine what categories they might exist in. While this location does have a lot to offer, there are also limits here, being that it is someone else's space that wouldn't exist with my other option. That's all the information I have gathered so far. I would be interested to know others' opinions on location selection and what seems the most promising. Thank you.